Okay, in this video, I'm going to do another critique. It's going to be a rather quick video because I'm just going to bring out one important point. And so after this intro, we'll get right into it. All right, well, here is another submitted drawing to the Ricks Can Do It Realistic Drawing Group. And it's a very nice drawing of a man with a cowboy hat on. And I think the artist did a pretty good job of drawing this up. Now, the printout isn't that great, unfortunately. It looked like it was taken with like a phone camera or something while it was laying down somewhere. You can see the edge of the paper there of the original. But it's enough for me to just bring out a certain point, and I hope that this will help the artist who uploaded it to get this to the next level. And that is working on transition of shading or tone transitions. In other words, when we talk about tones, we're talking about these different values here. You have this light tone value, you have your dark tone value, you have your mid tones, which are in between. See, here you have dark, and then you have this mid tone here, and then you have this light tone right across the face here and emanating off of the shirt and so forth. And there's whenever you have like going from a dark straight to a light, it causes a very sharp transition, which is it can look really harsh, especially if it's happening on a person's face and neck, like in this particular case here. Now, it's really evident when we take a look at this dark area right here on the neck, the chin, and the right side of his face, which is the left side to us here. And you can see that it goes from a dark to a mid-tone in one big jump. Just goes boom with no intermediate transition whatsoever, which is not natural. When a person's face is rounded and not with a sharp edge, he doesn't have a sharp edge like a block or a cube or something, but it is rounded. You want to give that a rounded effect. Then you're going to see a transition from dark to mid-tone to light. And we're not seeing it here. The neck really shows this up really well, so I'll use this as the example. Here you have this light that's coming in here, and he's got it shown here very bright. Now, this here looks like he's kind of ghosting, like he's got some halo or something effect here, because this is not actually his neck. Goes up to the hat right here. This is his neck right here. So this bright shady area really doesn't belong here, for one. But what it should do here is that the side of the neck here would be this really light, and then very gently you would go from light to little less light to a little less light than that, and so forth until you reached the dark. So in this case here, if we go the other way, we go from dark to the mid-tone. This darkness, we can see it's this sharp edge right here, but he is not a block. He's not a square. He doesn't have a sharp edge to his neck. So there should be a transition here from dark to light, and it's kind of like a fade. So you go from dark, and then you would go a little lighter and a little lighter and until it just fades out. Really nice gradual fades out. Now, I can't really do this on this paper here or using this pencil here. It's no way for me to emulate it, so I have to do mostly explaining, but you just kind of want to make it go soft transition from dark, and then just feather it out, I guess is a good way to say it, is feather it out into the light. So you don't have this really harsh darkness to light, immediately jumping from one to the other. Same from down here. Should go from dark and then just lighten up. So this area right here, I would say, should be between this tone and this tone. This would be a lighter tone. It would be somewhere in the middle. Now if I was to, for example, this grayscale here is a good example of it, okay? Now if you take this neck here and you go, okay, this is right over here in this area, okay? Value 2, and then you jump over to this right next door, you're already going, you're going to a, let's say it's probably somewhere around a 6 or a 7. Well, from a 2 to a 6 or a 7, you're missing all these values right here on the way from here to here. You should have these values showing up in some thin sliver right here so you can see the transition going from value 2 to value 6 rather than just jumping right over it, for example. So let me give you an example. I'll use the back of this. Now this is, again, is very slick printer paper, inkjet paper, and I don't know how well it's going to grab this because I've never tried it before, and this is some really nice paper that I use in my printer. But I'm going to try to show you here for what I'm talking about. So here's the dark side of the neck. Okay, so this is representing the dark side of his neck right here. This is our value 2, let's say, in this scale here. Okay, and let me just get enough of it in here. So this is the dark side of his neck. Now as you move through the roundness of his neck into the light of the neck, then you're going to start taking some pressure off that pencil, and you're going to do this transition into the light. Okay, it should be a gradual transition, and this gives the viewer the impression that there is rounding here, going from dark to light. So you have this transition. Now let me just zoom in so you can see that I went from dark, but then it went a little lighter, little bit lighter, little bit lighter, and then of course the paper would be as light as you're going to get. And here I'm just going to use like a 4H pencil to give me the lightest texture that I'm going to get on my skin here, let's say. And there you go. So you have this transition. This is called a transition here, or there's other words for it. I just don't remember at the moment what we would call it. And if you want to give more realistic, you want your drawing to be even more realistic looking, like photorealistic, for example, then you want to start practicing your blending skills. So here's a paper blender, for example, and you want to be able to come in and smooth out those tones, and then you can smooth it out into the light, from dark into the light. So you're actually moving some of that material into the light area, and you can just keep going back and forth until you get it just the way you want. But don't press hard in the paper, or you could mess up the tooth of it, and that won't be good, especially with graphite, because you'll cause a really bad shine to occur. But as you can see, using this blender, you get this really nice smooth transition from dark to light. Very smooth. Okay? And so that's what you want to do, rather than having these very harsh transitions from here to here. You definitely want to have this smooth, and so you'll go in here and you're gonna get your dark area, and then you're gonna start lightening it up into the light, lightening it up into the light. Do the same thing for the side of the face here. It shouldn't go dark to mid that quick. There should be some transition in between until you get to the mid-tone, and then from the mid-tone some transition till you get to the light. From the light, you see this is not too bad here. You got light, and then you want to kind of transition into this shaded area here, so you give this rounded appearance. And a real quick note too to the artist who did this, so you just keep in mind, don't make this glow coming off the side of the neck like this, because you're not going to actually see a halo. You want that light to be actually just off the edge of the neck itself, which is really right here. And then you just want to get into the darker and get darker and darker, just like that. Okay, and your background this background here will form the edge, because it will be a different tone than the slight highlight coming from the sun here. And if he's got all this light going off his face here, and this here I guess that might be his ear, I can't really tell, but you definitely need kind of a better edge, let's say, from this hat. If he's got this light bouncing off here, then that light should also be really bouncing off the side of the hat here, and you really should have that light coming off the hat here. So if you got it this pronounced here, it should be pretty much the same pronounced here off this hat up here and off this curved part of the hat here. But that's not really part of this video. That's just a side comment. Anyway, so in this one here, we're talking about smooth transitions from dark to light, from light to dark. Whenever you have rounded surfaces, whether it's fabric, whether it's a person's face, whether it's a curved hat, anything that doesn't have a sharp edge to it should have a transition of tonal values from dark to light, not jumping directly from dark to light unless the actual object has a sharp corner, like a square, cube, something like that. So when you think rounded, think of one of those spheres where you go from dark and then it gets lighter, lighter, lighter. Something really good to practice with, okay? So practice on transitions when you're doing your drawings such as this one here, and I guarantee you it will bring it up 1, 2, 3 new levels towards photorealism. Well, I hope you liked this critique video. If so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.